Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pivot Point, a thought leadership series where we engage with industry leaders to explore ideas, innovations, and technologies shaping the future of customer experience, AI, leadership, and digital transformation. I'm your host, Alok Ramsisaria, CEO at Grazitti Interactive. Today, we are taking a closer look at how customer communities are evolving beyond conversations to become the knowledge engine of the modern enterprise. Our guest today is from TechnologyOne, one of Australia's leading enterprise software companies, serving thousands of organizations across government, education, healthcare, financial services, and many more industries. For more than 3 decades, TechnologyOne has helped organizations transform their operations through enterprise SaaS solutions with a strong focus on customer success. Joining us, I'm particularly pleased to welcome Roxanne Hoare, Director of Customer Communities at TechnologyOne. With nearly 19 years of TechnologyOne experience spanning consulting, customer support, incident management, support enablement, and community leadership, she brings a unique perspective on how communities have evolved into a strategic driver of customer success. Roxanne, it's a pleasure to have you on Pivot Point.
Thanks, Alok. It's great to be here.
You've spent almost 19 years at TechnologyOne across many roles. It's a fascinating journey. Looking back, what do you think has changed the most in how organizations think about customer communities?
What I've seen is that we're much more open to having customer community as a pivotal channel that we work with our customers in. So, not just a support deflection mechanism anymore. We want to engage with our customers at all parts of their journey.
Uh-huh. So one of the interesting things that I observed is that customers sometimes don't really care about support portal versus knowledge base versus communities. They're just looking for answers. Do you believe communities should be treated as an extension of support and knowledge management rather than sort of like a standalone overarching channel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should never be treated as a standalone channel. They should be there for everybody to help get the answers that they need. And for me, community is about connecting people and knowledge. So I come across so many people that think that support is a dirty word, but my perspective is that a person or a business is looking to solve a business problem and they need to solve that. And community is a way that they can find the solution through either knowledge artifacts or shared knowledge through discussions in the community with other members. So I personally see community as a collaboration experience on those business problems and solutions, and ideas that connect customers with other customers, as well as customers with our product managers and experts, thus providing an organic support and knowledge sharing experience for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I strongly see that as such a powerful platform to connect in a safe shared space. But every community manager worth their salt is measured on
Mm.
typically on activity metrics such as posts, replies, page views, and the real value is what you pointed out as the engagement numbers. Or is the value more in the knowledge? Can we measure knowledge as the outcome of their engagement and use that as a metric in somehow um, you know present that to the C-suite rather than just talking
Yeah.
about activities?
Absolutely. I think value versus metrics has been a really hot topic of conversation with my team over the last couple of months. We still measure engagement and we're going to continue to do so as it's something that's easily understood by everybody and it's a tangible thing that people get. But we've really turned our focus to the value that community brings to customers and stakeholders. So this month, we've spent a lot of time diving into our community membership so that we can share greater understanding across our business on the types of members that we have and what would be key to those members in terms of content or knowledge to share, how product adoption or product feedback could be utilised within that community. If I can share a story, I've been involved in our community from its birth over 14 years ago, and we've had Q&A and conversations from almost that long ago that are resurfaced all the time with new contents added. So having that shared knowledge that's in a preserved state, whilst it might not be an article artifact, I think there's real value there that can surface solutions for people time and time again.
Yeah, so I think having so you're saying that even historical Q&A, whether you move it to article, it still is valuable because then it represents the uh, customer's perspective, not necessarily the company's perspective, and maybe more believable, rather than if it is everything is captured into an article, and then it becomes sort
Yeah.
of the voice of the company rather than the voice of the customer.
Yeah, working in a community that's, from a tech company's point of view, it's incredibly difficult to um, put every single configurable option available for customers into a formal documentation. So that's where that Q&A and shared experience really comes to fruition for some customers that are trying to solve problems or work out exactly what solution might be available to them.
It's an interesting point because the world seems to be moving towards more and more, articles, and there's that worldview which says, hey, everything should be assembled together from knowledge rather than look at these real human problems being solved by people. And it's very hard to get coverage in all the use cases. I think that's a good insight that a lot of times people miss. That hey, not necessary that every product designer knows all the ways the software is going to be used, right?
That's right. How could you?
Yeah, I heard of this interesting story in Amritsar, in north of here, is big. So this part of the country, we are big gastronomes, right? We are really fond of our food. So somebody took a washing machine and made it into a buttermilk churner because they needed, buttermilk in that such a huge quantity. Yeah, you want 8 liters of buttermilk every 15 minutes. So, you know, uh, and I'm
That
sure.
definitely wasn't designed with that intent. You're not gonna document that in the user manual, are you? But it certainly could be used like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a completely one-off thing that. But more seriously, I think the uh, one of the challenges, while the conversations help, do you think that um, one of the challenges now is that there are so many touch points, right? There is a knowledge base, there is support portal, there is community. Um, And as you mentioned, I mean, every one of them is valuable from some perspective or the other. So how are you connecting these to create a seamless customer journey? I mean, especially because the value of each one of these is, I think, still immense. You can't put that and just say, something will just replace the human interaction. Somebody will just replace the knowledge base. So, you know, people still need support because they get stuck. So we still need to create, as customer experience professionals, a seamless customer journey. What is your take on this? I mean, you mentioned, I think, in the beginning that the community becomes the gateway. Is that the approach you want to, you take, or on the back end you create something more?
Yeah, so we've certainly curated and designed our community to be that launching pad for our customers. But what we've just done over the last year is use AI to really undertake that deeper analysis across all those different bits to identify content gaps where there might be pivotal moments for things to be moved into content into knowledge artifacts versus do we want to have a content series of posts, or do we want to host a webinar series on these things, because that might be a better mechanism to either deal with these discussions that are also flowing into cases, and hopefully that also goes back into the customer journey to help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. So inside our community, we do have things, we have our discussions, we've got our articles, we publish known issues. So we don't let every customer have access to every support ticket, but what we do is extract those issues out and distill them out to general information so that they can be used. We will also have ideas and events. So we try and keep, a cohesive environment there and guide people through different onboarding to ensure that they get the most out of the community and their relationship with us in that way. Is it seamless? Not quite. I think it's still a work in progress type thing, man.
But I think you brought up an important point, and that keeps coming up, is the role of AI. And I was, one of the things that everybody talks about AI, helping us stitch together these experiences. But I'm more interested in that one thing you mentioned, that, see, most people are using AI to drive content and knowledge. But you mentioned that you also look at, hey, this seems to be a common problem. Can we run a webinar, right? Or can we run a customer education series, right? Which I think is unique, because I don't think people think about those communications as an outcome of a content gap. Right? Most people are looking at, hey, let's just publish some more knowledge, hoping that somebody will discover it. Whereas if you put it in a podcast or a webinar or more real-time content, then there is I think that's a very interesting use of AI to see if we can surface those as needs. And I think there is some value in that you probably should delve deeper later.
If I go back to your value question earlier, that's part of the value that we're trying to show to our internal stakeholders for community, is to help drive some of their priorities. So is it that they need to update the product because there's just too much that the customers aren't understanding, or is it that an education series or a webinar would be the better outcome to look at those top priorities? So I think sometimes our product teams and our product success teams in particular feel crippled about all the things that they could do, but we're trying to use that AI analysis to help focus them in on what might be the best things, for the effort that they've got available.
Great. I think this is, I haven't heard too many people trying to use this in this manner. I think this is something that, think about it, in the end, customer education, and, it can also lead up to some kind of customer marketing. Hey, this is a feature that you can, because looking at this analysis of the interactions, discussions, as well as support tickets, maybe this is a good idea to do. And I think this is something which I haven't seen too many people discussing. Great idea there. But let's come back also to the other challenge is, which is, if you look at the knowledge challenge, the one challenge that every knowledge manager faces is, how do you keep content accurate? How do you keep it up to date? Especially when, I know in some of the products we build, we are coming out with 3 releases a year. Salesforce comes out with 3 releases a year. I wonder, how they manage to keep everything fresh and relevant. For every company, can we leverage the community for triggering some of these, validating some of this new knowledge that we create, or auditing some of our existing content? How do you guys do it? Because you guys have such a wide variety of customers. Everybody's using different parts of your solutions. and it becomes a big for me a nightmare. I'm looking at the two products that we manage here, but I would love to learn more how you guys do it.
Yeah, it's certainly challenging, but we do rely on our community a lot. So um, we have been using the community to help prioritize those new and or updates to existing knowledge alongside the feedback channels that we have. So against knowledge artifacts or knowledge articles, we have feedback forms that our users can fill in and tell us, what it didn't solve for them, or is the information outdated, and we get pretty good hits on that. And so we're able to really react quickly when they put the feedback in. One of the other things that we do, because not everyone raises a question or puts a case through when the content's out of date, they just kind of move, "Oh, I'll do something else." Um, so we've been using search terms. So either search terms against our knowledge base or search terms in the community to see what's really popular, and then going and looking at, are there content gaps there, or is there a change happening that means that we need to get content out for that as well. So um, I'm sure it's the same for yourselves in other industries, but we have a lot of compliance or regulatory change that happens across a number of our products, and we often can't get the information out quick enough for our customers as they're trying to prepare for those changes. So um, seeing their questions and it really helps prioritize what content we do need to address, as well as the number of searches or people commenting on that lets us know how important it is or how widespread that content is required.
Gotcha. So search terms then becomes an important part, and I just want to segue back to the AI question, but more from a people perspective, um, because I think on one side we see AI working very well, we see search evolving to handle a lot of unstructured data, and surfacing the behavior with search helps us identify, as you mentioned, where we really need to address. But what happens to reveal? And I have a small anecdote. I used to consult with a company, which was two partners, and one of these guys was a big wildlife slash humanist, and both of these guys were driving back one night, and they saw a little sparrow on the road. So the driving guy just swerved, and the partner said, "Hey, what about me? You tried to save the little sparrow, but you threw me against the side of the car." So it stuck with me that sometimes while we are talking about AI driving, a lot of I would say speed and accuracy and understanding. Um, how do you think the community manager's role is evolving? What are they going to do more? I mean, I would hate to think of the dystopian features that all the big AI players seem to paint. I would like to believe more that, hey, what's going to happen to community managers? What should they be learning? What should they be doing? How should they be evolving their careers?
Mhm. This is something that we've been talking about a lot. So our community managers aren't currently doing a lot of moderation. They're making sure that questions get to the right places, and the right people are seeing those discussions. But they're not responsible for answering them because they're not subject matter experts in those fields. But they spend a lot of time on curating the experience in our community today. So I see them, even with AI, that we're looking at, um, you know, how can they keep customers engaged and connected, even though AI might be answering those questions now from content sources and it's not a human to human answering them? But how can we ensure that we're still connected to our customers? What programs can we run to do that? Um, the other part that they do a lot on is we have a cohort of our community. We call them our one heroes. So they're our super users that get in and help answer questions, share their tips and tricks for using our products. And so there's a lot of time spent keeping that cohort motivated and, rewarding them for what they're doing, organizing them to, schedule in their tips and tricks that they're going to do. And that cohort changes every year. So we've got a recruit, we've got a vet that the new recruits are the right people. So that's another thing that they spend quite a bit of time on. So um, they also are doing all that analysis with the help of AI to share back to the team. So their their professional development has been on how to get the most out of AI so that they don't have to keep reworking it each time, trying to get those prompts as precise as possible. And then listening to the feedback that we get from the stakeholders to help refine it and get it more accurate the next time round or that sort of thing. So for me, that's what's happening in our community manager space. Um, I would hope that for any community with AI that it doesn't end up with everyone becoming moderators. Like I would hope that AI can help a lot more in that space going forward.
Great, great. So I think, yeah, we moderation, at multiple levels can be automated. I think but the human experience is the one that you pointed out, and augmented with AI. For example, I was just looking at, one of our teams was recruiting, and the hiring manager said, "Okay, this is my prompt for sorting through these 100 resumes that you gave me." So you can see that people are using AI in different ways. Even for recruiting your cohort, as you mentioned, you can see how a smart community manager can use AI tools and curating. Superhero slash creator communities inside larger communities, creating the knowledge and creating the overall experience. I think if I were to summarize, those seem to be areas where you are seeing the community manager profession evolve towards. Great. Thank you so much. I think we are almost coming to the end of our podcast. So thank you for joining and sharing your insights. For everybody else, to recap, communities should be the front end and should look at integrated experiences leveraging AI to ensure that we provide uh, customers the integrated experience, one point where they can find everything they need and learn from peers, as was earlier, but in an AI augmented way, and use the signals that AI gives us, whether it's search terms, whether it is content gaps, to help curate content. And community managers should look to curating uh, experiences, nurturing the creators slash super contributors, and also making sure that the basic experience for everybody on the community is uh, sort of spotless and allows people to do their jobs and enjoy it while they're doing it. Um, so thank you. And I think just one last, I would say, given the wealth of what we've covered, if you were designing a community strategy from scratch today, Roxanne, what principles would you prioritize so that it remains valuable and relevant? I won't say 5 years, but maybe 3 years from now, because people seem to be saying, "Hey, everything's changing." So,
I think if I was to look at that now, I'd be looking at outcomes over activity. So, we're not looking for those clicks, those likes, that sort of thing, but they're really looking at how we can produce outcomes. So whether that's product adoption, advocacy with our customers, improving the customer onboarding or customer education, that would be one of the things. The second thing would be to design around the customer journey. So our community is very product based. With 19 plus products, it kind of had to be. But I'd probably look to, look at that customer journey more so in the future if we had our time again. Look, knowing that how the behaviors have changed for users, I think search is your primary interface, whether that's, an AI agent or just a search screen. I think expecting people to navigate around these days is a thing of the past, and search is really going to be that primary mechanism. And the final one that I'll say is that community is an ecosystem, not a destination. So they shouldn't have to decide where to go. It should seamlessly integrate with support, documentation, learning, product, our marketing teams, any of our events, and of course, customer success. And I am going to add just one more because it's important. But community should 100% inform business decisions. So it should be the starting point for looking for, what should we be doing next, or how are our customers placed? What are they looking for? And, driving where to put features, where to identify those recurring pain points for customers, that sort of thing. That it should be one of the primary places that we draw that information from.
Very, very good. I think this is great advice for everyone watching. I think this has been one of the best podcasts for me personally, compressing so much knowledge into such a short time span. So thank you once again, Roxanne, for joining us. I know it's, coordinating time zones can be a little bit of a problem, but thank you once again for being here and sharing your insights and your wisdom. For our viewers, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Pivot Point. We'll see you next time as we continue exploring these ideas, shaping the future of enterprise AI, customer experience, and digital transformation. Thank you and goodbye.